Do you really think that Niccolò Machiavelli was unscrupulous in saying, "The end justifies the means," or is it better to be feared than loved? Well, by the end of this video you might change your mind. Niccolò Machiavelli remains a key figure in the world of politics and philosophy. His work, The Prince, written in 1532, challenges us to think about power in ways we had never considered before. For centuries, his name has resonated in university classrooms around the world. But who was this thinker, who still makes us question the limits of ethics and morality today? Let's discover together his story and see if he was really as Machiavellian as his reputation leads us to believe. Niccolò Machiavelli was born in 1469 in Florence, into a family that had once been noble and wealthy, but by then had lost its power and money. Although his father was cultured, he could not give Niccolò either wealth or a good position in society, but he did provide him with a first-class education. At the age of 8, Niccolò was already studying grammar and Latin, and at 11, arithmetic. While other children his age were distracted, he immersed himself in the works of Titus Livius, Plutarch and Cicero. From a young age, Niccolò had to work to help his family, doing translations and copying texts. But that did not prevent him from continuing his studies. He did not study just to learn, but with a clear goal: to restore to his family the money and status they had lost. His plan was to get a job in the government of Florence and then climb the ranks. Machiavelli's dream was to get his family out of debt and have power in the political decisions of Florence. It seems easy, but politics in Florence was a mess. It was supposed to be a republic, but in reality, a single family, the Medici, had all the power. They had ruled for over 60 years, but in 1494 the people got tired of Piero de' Medici, the ruler at that time, for his bad decisions, and they removed him from power. After the Medici, Girolamo Savonarola, a priest who detested corruption and lack of morals, came to power. He did good things like lowering taxes and promoting democracy, but he also took strict measures, such as banning alcohol, makeup, perfumes and books of Greek or Roman philosophy, because he thought they led to sin. He asked the Florence police to take these objects from the people and then organized a large event called the Bonfire of the Vanities. There he burned everything they had collected: books, paintings, musical instruments, fancy clothes and perfumes. Everything was burned that day. It seems that no one had told the priest that people don't like having their things taken away to be burned, or maybe he didn't care. He was committed to his fight against corruption and lack of morals. But someone should have warned him before he went too far, because the situation turned ugly when he began to attack the Pope, accusing him of being corrupt. Pope Alexander VI, who was no saint, first tried to bribe him, offering him money to keep quiet. But Savonarola, who was not for sale, refused. Then the Pope sent his soldiers to Florence to capture, torture and kill the rebellious priest. It is important to say that the Florentines, already tired of not being able to drink or dress as they wanted, did nothing to defend their leader. I'm telling you all this so you can see how unstable politics were in Florence, because between the expulsion of the Medici and the killing of Savonarola, only 3 years passed. In that time, one ruler was almost lynched by his own citizens, and the other was killed by a foreign army sent by the Pope. Well, amidst that chaos, Machiavelli found his opportunity. At the age of 28, Niccolò Machiavelli secured a position in the government of Florence. He started with a minor job in administration, but gradually climbed the ranks. After Savonarola was killed, Piero Soderini took over the government, and soon realized how smart Machiavelli was, making him one of his most important advisors. Over time, Machiavelli not only obtained more significant positions, but also became more mature and visionary. If before his goal was to take care of his family, now he wanted the best for Florence. He wanted his city to be strong, where people could live in peace, with prosperity and freedom. The problem was that Florence didn't have much military strength, and countries like France, Spain or Austria could invade it whenever they wanted. So, if they couldn't defend themselves with arms, they should at least try with intelligence in government. Machiavelli was famous for his skill in diplomacy. He was sent all over Europe to talk with the leaders of other countries. His goal with these trips was to form alliances and negotiate with the great powers to prevent Florence from ending up in a war it couldn't win. Thanks to Machiavelli, Florence was saved from being invaded by the French under Louis XIV, the papal troops of Cesare Borgia, and also evaded the Austrians under Maximilian I. For 14 years, Niccolò Machiavelli spent his time preventing Florence from being invaded until everything fell apart. Remember the Medici, that powerful family that had ruled Florence? Well, the Medici allied themselves with Pope Julius II to take Florence. There, Machiavelli could do nothing. The Medici arrived, seized power, and ousted everyone who worked in the government, placing their own people. Machiavelli, who was then 43 years old with 6 children, was left jobless. The Medici also accused Machiavelli of conspiracy. He was tortured and imprisoned before being exiled in the spring of 1513 to his farm in Sant'Andrea in Percosina, on the outskirts of the city. He tried to re-enter, but couldn't, and dedicated the rest of his life to writing. In his writings, he put everything he knew about politics, the result of years of experience, and published a couple of books that had moderate success. However, he died sad because he could no longer be part of the government of his country, which he loved so much. Machiavelli had met many important political and military leaders. He studied how they acted, thought, their personality, how they made decisions, and the consequences of these decisions. Like a psychologist or a society expert, he compiled all this and wrote it in books that are still studied today in universities of political sciences, like his book The Prince, where he exposes his famous phrase, "The end justifies the means," which is often misunderstood, as it actually refers to the need to use sometimes unconventional measures to maintain power and stability, not to justify any immoral action. But here comes the most important part. How can we use these ideas in our daily life, even if we don't work in the government? These are the questions that we will answer in the next video, so stay tuned to this account. If you liked this video, consider subscribing and checking out our new book, The Modern Stoic, where there are also valuable lessons from Machiavelli.